We can only imagine how the people in the occupied countries must have felt. After the German defeat at Stalingrad, hope is revived. The German news broadcasts do not, of course, show any of these images. And Hitler says, "We must not use the word surrender. We must explain that our men were unable to receive supplies and that is why they were beaten. We have to use the word sacrifice." The Nazis want to turn this national disaster into an opportunity for galvanizing the German people. The Minister of Propaganda, Goebbels, assumes the task of mobilizing all the nation's energy and resources towards this end. In the audience, seemingly ecstatic, is Albert Speer. He will furnish Hitler with the means to implement total war. Hitler calls him his only friend. The 38-year-old architect, builder of the Führer's megalomaniac edifices, has been appointed Minister of Armaments. Speer gives new impetus to the German war industry. He is a masterful organizer, but above all, he is an adamant Nazi. Under his orders, millions of foreign or Jewish civilians will be rounded up and worked to exhaustion or to death. After Russia and Poland, occupied France is the country that provides the Nazis with the greatest number of workers. The Vichy regime institutes a compulsory labor service and drafts 600,000 French workers for Germany. Those who want to evade this service take to the forests and join the resistance movement. The song of these groups is the partisan song.
Amis, entends-tu le cri noir des corbeaux sur nos plaines? Amis, entends-tu les cris sourds du pays qu'on enchaîne? Oh, et partisans, ouvriers et paysans, à vos armes.
Underground resistance groups have been created in all of the occupied countries.
Le prix du sang et des larmes. Montez de la mine, descendez des collines, camarades. Sortez de la paille, les fusils, la mitraille, les grenades. Oui, les tueurs à la balle et au couteau, très vite. Oui, les saboteurs, attention à ton fardeau, dynamite. C'est nous qui brisons les barreaux des prisons pour nos frères. Si nous battus, nous marchons et nous tuons, nous crèves. Ami, si tu tombes, un ami sort de l'ombre à ta place.
Behind the walls of the Warsaw Ghetto, the Germans are confronted by a Jewish uprising. Before the war, the Warsaw Ghetto was a lively, open district, filmed in color here by an American tourist. In 1940, the Nazis turned this pleasant area of Warsaw into an overpopulated prison. This woman shrieks in grief as she carries her dead child through the streets. The Warsaw Ghetto in 1941. The Ghetto in 1942. The Ghetto in 1943. The Nazis deliberately starved the people in order to kill, weaken, and prevent any kind of revolt. But the Jews managed to acquire weapons, and they die fighting. The survivors are deported to the Dublinka extermination camp and executed. The ghetto is razed to the ground. At the same time, the Allies win another victory. They enter Tunis. Behind these gates, the Germans had already initiated policies to persecute the Jews in Tunisia during their short occupation. The Jews immediately take the opportunity to remove their yellow stars. The Italian prisoners receive insulting gestures from the crowd. Rommel, who is still in Tunisia, is filmed by a German officer before boarding one of the last planes leaving for Germany. In March 1943, he wrote, "I have received instructions to take sick leave and get myself back into shape. All my efforts to save my men and get them back to the continent have been fruitless. Orders have been issued by the Führer's headquarters to maintain the utmost secrecy concerning my recall to Germany. My military reputation is still to serve as a deterrent." The Afrika Korps has been captured and is now marching in long lines towards the American fleet's ships to be taken away to the other side of the Atlantic. During the war, 380,000 Germans will be sent over to Canada and the United States, from where escape is impossible. These prisoners are about to embark on a strange odyssey. It begins on these military transport ships. Many feel like they're in a dream. For them, the war is over and they are safe. However, for these German soldiers, the dream will soon turn into a nightmare, because even here, the Nazis remain in control. These men coming off the boat in Canada insist on making the salute, even those with just one arm. Some prisoners are sent to camps in Virginia and Texas. They work on cotton or tobacco plantations. In these barracks, Nazi law continues to terrorize the prisoners. Within a short time, Nazi officers have taken control of the prisons, using intimidation, torture, and even murder to maintain fascist ideology among their fellow prisoners. And this message must reach the German soldiers fighting and suffering on all of the German fronts. They have to understand that they have nothing to gain from turning themselves in to the Allies. On the Eastern Front, ever since the fall of Stalingrad, the Wehrmacht is never the same. the soldiers exchange rumors about the Führer. Apparently he's lost his head. He's being secretly held in Berchtesgaden. It's his double that we're seeing. But no, it is Hitler himself, filmed here in Berchtesgaden by his mistress, Eva Braun. Since his army's defeats at Stalingrad and El Alamein, he's changed. His famous moustache has greyed. One of his generals, von Senger, is struck by his appearance. He says his skin was flaccid. The look in his blue eyes, which had mesmerized the crowds, was reddened by insomnia. In fact, his physician, Dr. Morell, has concocted cocaine eye drops for him. Morell is filmed here on the 20th of April 1943 with the secretaries and close friends who have come to wish the Führer a happy birthday. He is only 54. Morell is able to make him presentable for ceremonies. Hitler, however, is careful to keep his left arm under control. It tends to tremble. He is already showing signs of Parkinson's disease. As a result, the head of the SS, Himmler, becomes even more important. The SS, whose recruits were now coming from the Hitler Youth, started out as the Schutzstaffel, the protection squad for Nazi officials. Later, it would provide the guards for the concentration camps. The SS has now created a veritable army of its own, the Waffen-SS. In the future, these elite troops, under Himmler's orders, are expected to replace the Wehrmacht, which is no longer considered completely loyal. Increasingly, Himmler recruits from the occupied countries, fanatics such as these Bosnian SS. In the occupied areas of Russia, the SS also has no problem recruiting 2 divisions of Cossacks, who during the time of the Tsars were already known for their bloody anti-Semitic pogroms. They will form the fearsome 15th SS Cavalry Corps. As for the Wehrmacht, it will enlist as many as 1 million Soviet prisoners who have no other choice. They can either die of hunger or fight alongside the Germans. Some, like former Soviet General Andrei Vlasov, are also against Stalin. After the German siege of Leningrad, Vlasov was taken prisoner and changed sides. He will command the Russian Liberation Army under the flag of the Wehrmacht. The Germans outfit this veritable foreign legion of theirs with the best equipment, such as the Tiger tank, designed by the brilliant engineer Ferdinand Porsche. With its 88mm gun, the Tiger was the most dreaded of the German tanks. As a result, back in the wolf's lair, Hitler starts to feel hopeful again. He can now renew his obsession with destroying the Red Army. He wants to attack at Kursk. The Russians have pushed forward into the front lines, and Germany will launch a massive summer offensive, Operation Citadel, the biggest tank battle in history. 2,700 German tanks are preparing to combat 3,600 Soviet tanks. But the technical superiority of the German Tiger appears to be overwhelming. Hitler knows the importance of this battle. To lead his force of 900,000 soldiers, he has chosen the man who helped him to win the Battle of France, Field Marshal von Manstein.